That evening, sitting on my patio and staring into the glowing embers nestled in my tiny grill, I thought of Drew Pearson, and for the first time in months I felt something akin to a beacon of hope flashing through the darkness of my mind. I, Glen, smiled. I returned to Dave's Quick Stop the next evening and bought some luncheon meat, a loaf of bread, potato chips, and a roll of toilet paper. At the cash register, Drew rang up my items and said, "I bet you're going on a picnic in the woods." The next evening I had plans to eat dinner at the condominium of my sister and her homophobic husband, Vince Covington. See Newsletter, Volume 1, Number 1. On the way to their home, I stopped at the Quick Stop where I bought a can of snuff. Now, I don't use snuff, wouldn't think of it. I only ordered snuff because it was one of the few items behind the counter and on a lower shelf. Drew, as an employee, is forced to wear an awkward garment, sort of a cross between a vest and a sandwich board. The terrible synthetic thing ties at the sides and falls practically to the middle of his thigh. I only ordered the snuff so that, as he bent over to fetch it, I might get a more enlightened view of Drew's physique. Regular readers of this newsletter will understand what I'm talking about. Drew bent over and squatted on his heels, saying, "Which one, two bros? I used to like me some snuff. I bet you're going to go home and relax with some snuff, aren't you?" The next evening, when I returned for more snuff, Drew explained that he was a freshman student at Carteret County Community College, where he majors in psychology. I was touched by his naivete. CCCC might as well print their diplomas on tar paper. One might take a course in diesel mechanics or pipe fitting, but under no circumstances should one study psychology at CCCC. That is where the certified universities recruit their studies for abnormal psychology. CCCC is where the missing links brood and stumble and swing from the outer branches of our educational system. Drew said that he was currently taking a course in dreams. The teacher demands that each student keep a dream notebook, but Drew, exhausted after work, sleeps, he said, like a gin-soaked log, and wakes remembering nothing. I told him that I've had some interesting dreams lately, because it's true. I have. Drew said, "Symbolic dreams! Dreams that you can turn around when you're awake and make sense of!" I said, "Yes, haunting dreams. Meaningful, dense." He asked then, hunkered down before the snuff, if I would relate my dreams to him. I answered yes indeed, and he slapped the tin of snuff on the counter, saying, "On the house!" I returned home, my heart a bright balloon. Drew might be young, perhaps no older than, say, Steve Dolger's current boyfriend. He might not be able to hold his own during strenuous intellectual debate, but neither can most people. My buoyant spirit carried me home, where it was immediately deflated by the painful reminder that my evening meal was to consist of an ethnic lasagna, pathetically submitted earlier that day by Melinda Del Vecchio, a lingering temp haunting the secretarial pool over at the office in which I work. Melinda, stout, inquisitive, and bearded as a pot-bellied pig, has taken quite a shine to me. She is clearly and mistakenly in love with me, and presents me several times a week with hideous dishes protected with foil. "Someone needs to fatten you up," she says, placing her eager hooves against my stomach. One would think that Melinda Del Vecchio's kindness might come as a relief to the grinding homophobia I encounter at my office. One might think that Melinda Del Vecchio is thoughtful and generous, until they pull back the gleaming foil, under which lies her hateful concoction of overcooked pasta stuffed with the synthetic downy fluff used to fill plush toys and cheap cushions. Melinda Del Vecchio is no friend of mine, far from it. And regarding the heated lasagna steaming before me, I made a mental note to have her fired as soon as possible. That night, I dreamt that I was forced to leave my home and move underground into a dark subterranean chamber with low, muddy ceilings and no furniture. That was bad enough, but to make matters worse, I did not live alone, but had to share the place with a community of honest-to-God trolls. These were small trolls with full beards and pointy, curled shoes.